I merged improv theater with marketing.
To me, it would be overwhelming, but I think for the generation growing up with Minecraft, Fortnite, and Counter Strike all the time, might be more appealing, right?
There are no rational, like completely rational people usually. Maybe Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory, maybe he's an exception. Successful big famous companies are using this approach without you knowing it.
Hello and welcome to Masterful.info, podcast for entrepreneurs. Today I'm joined again by my partner in crime, Will, and today we are going to talk about building a story brand, how Donald Miller's story brand framework can help you build a better brand, enable your customers to be their own heroes in their success story and using your products and services.
Let's jump into it. It's a passionate topic for me.
Cool. Yeah, then let's get right to it. And maybe you can tell us for whom is it actually relevant and why is it important?
StoryBrand is a strategy with that you can stand out. The market is so overcrowded in like most of the markets, and it's not enough to just tell how great you are. So you need a strategy like StoryBrand to to be more relevant and more interesting for the target audience. And it's of course interest relevant for everyone who needs or wants to promote his or like his business. So it's for marketers and for of course entrepreneurs. For all entrepreneurs, no matter what you do, usually marketing is the first thing. Usually, no matter how good your product is, if your marketing is not good, then it's really, really difficult to succeed. And with story brand, you can elevate your marketing to a new level.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, without marketing, you can have the best product, but if no one knows it and what it's actually doing, then yeah, how are you supposed to be successful? Yeah, maybe you can give us like a short explanation on what is the story brand framework and what are parts of it. Maybe you can give us like a quick roundup on this.
So the currently, like many businesses, they promote themselves by explaining how much experience they have, how much they know, and how great they are, and how old they are. Like, oh, we are 200 years old and things. But people don't care actually about your company.
Hmm.
That's the truth.
True.
Yeah, you have to understand that people are thinking about themselves, and the story brand is focusing on exactly that. So with story brand framework, you are creating like landing pages and communication of your company, like marketing, email marketing, and all those things. You create from the perspective of the target audience. So the target audience is the hero, like your prospect, your client is the hero, and you create like a small story, kind of in a storytelling way. Like they have a problem
Hmm.
and you have a solution, and yeah, it's built really well for how the psychology works. And people, when they visit a website that is built with storytelling, it's it's clear for them what's the benefits and what you're offering, and those you can achieve much better like conversion rate and like success with your website and landing page than compared to like classical approach.
I got it. I think it makes sense because what you said in the beginning that lots of companies they put an emphasis on how old they are, how great they are, but how am I supposed to identify myself as this company, right? I'm not 200 years old. I'm like 30. So reading like a small, like you said, a story where I can become the hero, I can more identify myself with this. So yeah, I think this is an interesting framework. Um you said there it's used on it can be used on different channels and different situations, all within the realm of online marketing, right?
Yes, definitely. And it should be used on different marketing channels. Like it's standardize your presentation to the clients or to prospects. So you have a landing page or you have website. Landing page, by the way, is just a name for a page where people that you like buy. For example, if you advertise on Google Ads, people come to the page, to the first thing they see on your website. That's called the landing page, and it has to be on point because people don't have time. Also, like your email communication, your social media, and your sales, they have to be on the same like level. They have to use the same like type of communication
Mm-hmm.
and understand like that the certain aspects. So usually, um, yeah, at the moment it's like a little bit abstract, but when like when I give you a few examples and like explain certain things, you will definitely like the audience and Chris. I mean, Chris, you know it already quite well, but the audience especially will understand what we are talking about. So you start with strategy, like brand strategy, where you like yeah, write everything down, especially like, who is the target audience, and you put them like a hero, and which problems do they have. And the better you understand the target audience, the better you can like promote your products, because you know, okay, your product, for example, has 20 features, but maybe 15 features of those are not relevant to the target audience. And if you emphasize only those five that are most interesting, and this especially like, yeah, then you have of course much more like you are much more relevant for them. But also, if you state their problem already like in your communication, then you show that you are understanding them, and they feel like great. So, and then you compare the problem and then the solution, like how you are going to solve their issue, and how, like the success, how success would look like. For example, a good example is like an insurance company. The problem is maybe you have certain risks, and if you don't care about them, then you might get broke,
Mm-hmm.
which is not a very nice outcome.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you have a solution, like as an insurance, you have a solution to insure those, like in worst case, and so on. And the success is the client, the prospect is like, no, in this case, the client is really relaxed and satisfied, and everything, whatever the life throws at him, he's always safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, so you create a script, this brand script, and you give it to all your like team members and salespeople and marketing people, and then they orient, like they make sure that every communication with the prospect and client is on the same like strategy and level.
That totally makes sense. So you use that framework that you define like the hero, the main character, the protagonist in your story. And I think it sounds familiar to this buying persona we talked about in another episode, right? Where you already define like who's actually my main customer, who's the person I want to serve to, and then you start transforming them into the hero of their own story. And in your storytelling, you also convey this, like you said, like the success and what happens if you're not with that insurance company, what might happen to you. You might be broke at some point because something happens you're not insured against. So, and you make sure that you have this brand script, including the hero, the outcomes, the consequences, and your product, of course, and services. And then you give it to everyone, so that you're all aligned, right, as a company, so that the sales team doesn't come up with their own story and own character. But the online marketing and the sales team, they are working as a team here. So okay, this understood, makes sense. It's clear in my mind. Like it totally makes sense to have coherent communication to the customer, and to also in your company to make sure that everyone is on the same page. Whom are we serving to, right? So interesting. So you mentioned a few things where you can also use this framework and the things you defined, like the brand script and whatnot. Maybe we can, you also mentioned landing page. Maybe we can use this as a practical example already, how to implement this framework. Maybe you can give us some idea, how would you use it on a landing page, for instance?
Yes, so landing page is one of the most important marketing, yeah, channels. Maybe it depends on, of course, on your marketing strategy, but yeah, with landing page you have the biggest influence. Like on Facebook, for example, on like Facebook page, you have limitations how you can present yourself, but on landing page you know usually exactly, especially if you are like buying traffic pay per click, then you probably have a pretty good understanding which kind of visitors are coming to your website, to your landing page, and you can really like adjust the landing page exactly to the people who are visiting. By the way, I wanted to mention that there is not only the extended version of the brand script, but also a short version which is called one liner,
Mm-hmm.
which is where you really like summarize everything you wrote into the detailed strategy plan. You summarize it in just one line, as short as possible, which you can like also communicate among everyone, and also use it as for all the communication. Like even if someone is asking you about your business,
Mm-hmm.
you have always this like in your pocket, and it goes like this. uh, First you mention the problem, the main problem of the target audience. Then you explain your solution, what is so special, why is, like, how do you do it to solve this problem. And then the success, like, oh yeah, to be relaxed, like in this insurance case, people are worrying because of this risk. With our efficient like structure, we are able to provide you affordable insurance that covers everything, so that you can really relax and don't worry about like something happening to you. That's your line, one liner. And it's of course even easier to communicate to your team than the whole script, and
Yeah.
people like are on the page, on one page. So I can explain you like how to structure a landing page with this framework, with StoryBrand framework. First of all, you need to explain exactly what you are doing, and there you can use this one liner. It's always very important to be very clear. It's not the place where you can be like very creative. I mean, creative in certain like framework, but not like, I will like make something mysterious or something cool sounding,
Mm-hmm.
and people are not sure what you are talking about. And the problem is, after a few seconds on the website, if they are not sure immediately that you are a relevant website, they are just leaving.
Yeah, yeah. I
That's why the above the fold, like what you see without scrolling, that's the most important thing. In the same time, you don't need to, you shouldn't, or you must not over like to put too many information on the small space that you have.
So it shouldn't be overwhelming.
overwhelming. Yeah, some people like think, okay, I have like 10 advantages, 10 unique selling propositions. I should put them all at once so that it's stronger. But in this case, they look like, oh, there's so much going on, and they are leaving. So you have to focus on very, very, very few, maybe one, the biggest unique selling proposition, and sell it like really like consumer friendly kind of way. So that, and of course with the picture, and then also with call to action buttons, so that people always understand what they should do. And yeah, you your goal is just to make them curious and make them like, okay, it's a relevant website for me, let's find out more. And then they scroll down, and then where you start like the storytelling kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why storytelling? Because most or almost all stories out there, if you watch like movies or something, there is always the same, like the protagonist, the hero has some problems, and then there is some guide who is helping this person, and in the end everything is really amazing and fine. It's like this is the same principle for so many like entertainment, like movies and theater,
So,
except maybe Goethe, which is a bit not so happy in the end, but still.
yeah, it makes sense because this is a familiar pattern, right? Like you said, in all the
Yes.
movies, it's always the hero having some sort of challenge or fight, and then there's this guide, and then eventually you will be successful. So this is quite interesting. I want to circle back to this one-liner thing and landing page, and also how you align like the whole company with using your brand script and the summarized form of it, the one-liner,
Mhm.
which I think is not to be confused with a tagline, because at some point I was like, oh yeah, it's a one line,
Yeah.
right? But then I thought of McDonald's, I'm loving it, which won't
Yeah.
explain anything, right? So the one liner is definitely
Yes.
something more complicated, or let's say not complicated but more detailed, summarizing
Yes.
or yeah, basically condensing the whole brand script. So but what I was what I wanted to talk about was so you can, like, since you said landing page, you usually you know what traffic you're gonna send to this landing page, because on Google Ads we all know you can
Mhm.
set up different campaigns. So I think what could be handy using this framework, you can like having a marketing team with several people working on different landing pages maybe, and they can all come up with like a short story kind of, but it's still like within this one huge brand script you developed using that framework, so that you can tell the people like, hey, you can be creative without within the realm of the brand script. So we all are on the same page. What is our main customer target group, and what is actually our offering and our solutions, in this case of our example, like the insurance company. And people can then like meander within this storyline a little bit, but they are still like focused on, this is our customer, this is the thing we are selling, this is the success story we want to tell. So I think this will also, using this framework, enable your team to be more efficient, but at the same time aligned within the whole big picture of the company, right?
Yes, definitely. Also, if you change the marketing team, like marketing agency or freelance or employee, they are always on the same page.
This is a good point. Yes.
But of course, I'm not talking about creating a story like Harry Potter,
Yeah.
like on the landing page, but it has elements of a good story, and especially like you. It's also like a mindset for you. If you are using StoryBrand framework, you should put yourself and your ego back. You are just the guide who is helping the clients, the heroes, and the clients are the heroes. And so you can create like the landing page. The rest of the landing page is more like focused on the
Hmm.
problems of the clients, of the target audience, and how you solve it. And then of course there are like few things to consider. You always have to make very, very clear what you expect to do, the client to do or the visitor to do, because for you as an advertiser, everything is so clear. You know your business so good, especially like as an entrepreneur, but you overestimate the understanding of the target of the visitors.
Mm-hmm.
People come to the website and they are not very invested in your company, they are not very interested. So that's why you have, and they have a different like knowledge base and mindset. So that's why you have to explain them, okay, here you have to click here to do the next step, and also like create overview of the next steps, like first, like ideally like 3 steps, because it's makes it like tangible, or like, oh, it's not much work, just 3 steps. And even if the second step is like very extensive step where you have to do many different things, but for now it's enough just to tell the client, okay, you contact, for example, like first step, you contact us for a personal free consultation. The second task is you like agree and give us certain information, like a briefing. And the third is the output. You get amazing like results, and you are enjoying your life as a successful hero kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then underneath is a call to action button, and like everywhere there should be call to action buttons. And also, one very, very central thing or important thing is to generate authority.
What do you mean by generating, establishing authority?
People don't know you when they come on your website or like any any marketing channel. Usually they don't know you, they don't trust you. So you have to establish your authority. Like you can give some reviews from, like you can show some reviews from other clients, and especially testimonials. They are perfect because they are usually also show the success, how success looked like for other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
Yep.
it's all those testimonials can be like a user case, and as a proof that it worked for them, and it might work for me, like for the visitor. So you can structure your website like in above the most important thing, like the one liner with call to action, and underneath um, the social proof, kind of like you can say, okay, I worked with those, here's logos, I worked here testimonials, I have on average like 4.9 stars on Google Maps, for example, and so on. That's gives them a really good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course maybe some advantages, so just very short, and then you go to the problem and how you solve it. And yeah, after that you have like some more like the steps, the plan, and in the end again always like call to action buttons. So it's what is the difference like with normal, like, yeah, most of the landing pages out there? It's that it brings the visitor as the main like character of the landing page, and it's not talking about ourselves. Yeah, we have like 15 years of experience in this industry. Who cares?
Yeah, understood. Okay, so establishing authority by bringing in testimonials and like Google Maps rating, and this is, and also bringing up like user stories or case well case studies, almost like the previous success stories of your customers, as like proof that the plan you're proposing is actually working. And then of course in the end always call to action: sign up, leave your email address, what have you. Interesting. What else can you actually do with the StoryBrand framework? Do you have like some really good examples seeing out there in the wild where some company is really well executing that framework, in your opinion?
Yes, might be surprised how many like bigger companies are, or like successful big famous companies are using this approach without you knowing it.
Hmm.
But after you learned about it, you will see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Even like Nike, such a big company, they're using it very successfully. Also Apple, so they are putting the target audience, which like in case of Nike, we can like explain how they are doing.
Hmm.
So the main hero is anyone can be an athlete, like anyone in the world has the potential to be an athlete. So they don't just limit like to certain demographics. They are very open.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, definitely. It's there is a lot of like thought and strategy behind that. They define the character, and they understood their problems, like their external problems, for example, like the physical challenges, motivation, and also internal problems like self-doubt, and also philosophical, like people want to strive for excellence.
Hmm.
And Nike positions themselves as a guide, as a mentor, with some inspiring stories, with inspiring videos. And the plan is like they have those shoes that can be used from like by everyone, and they will improve their possibilities. But also they have some apps like run club, where people can run together, and they call to action is just do it.
Hmm.
It's short, but it's
Interesting.
also like,
I never thought of just do it as a call to action. I always thought it's their tagline. This is really interesting.
yeah, in this case it's both. So yeah, it's not always like buy now
Yeah.
like on the landing pages. It's sometimes like, but it's if you see it, it's not like nice shoes, or it's active. It says something to the target
Hmm.
audience. Just do it, just start running. There is no like planning, no preparation
Oh,
needed.
interesting. Yeah. I never noticed. This is really fascinating. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, please go on.
Yeah, and with that in mind, they think, of course, do it with our shoes,
Yeah, sure, of
with
course.
our like clothes. And they show really like athletic people in their clips, in their ad clips, doing really amazing things, like really nice bodies, so famous, some oftentimes like football players or something. So there it's they're showing like how success will look like.
Hmm.
And in their case, the failure would be like that you don't use your potential, that you don't grow personally.
Hmm. Ah,
And the transformation, like the last part, is like you go from unmotivated, not sporty person to our to an athlete, to a healthy, beautiful athlete.
interesting. Yeah, this circles back kind of to this philosophical thing, right? Where Nike wants you to like to show like use our products to overcome your self-doubt, right? So that you can yeah, like you said, like the transformation from being the couch potato to becoming like an athlete to some extent. I mean, they are not really specifying what kind of an athlete, right? So that people are not like setting high expectations, but it's more like I need to do something, and it can be anything as long as I'm going with the brand Nike. And which is quite interesting if you think about it from just like a psychology standpoint, right? You do not set high expectations because it could be that people feel fooled by the brand or like the messaging. If if you would say like buy our shoes and then you're gonna run a marathon in like under 2 hours, oh boy, this is like
Yes,
90% of the people are gonna
yes,
fail, right? So
yes.
but if you say like yeah, buy our products and leave the state of being unhappy couch potato to someone
Yes.
who became more active, which can be like you go out for a walk each day for 15 to 20 minutes, which is like, yeah, it's a goal. They communicate, or they can communicate, and it's an achievable, attainable goal for the target audience here. So the customer feels like becoming the hero, like, okay, I made it using their services.
Yeah, in Nike's case, they of course need to address like majority of people out there.
Mm-hmm.
With smaller startups, you can focus really like on certain people, and that's like I've seen it over and over that people are afraid of like taking sides, and they are like thinking like entrepreneurs. That's like a message advice to our audience. um, I am, if I am writing that I am just doing this, I'm specialized in this and this, I'm targeting this and this kind of people, I will lose the other people.
Yeah.
um, so it makes sense, but it's usually, as a startup, you are better off if you're very specialized on a small target audience and do a perfect job just like satisfying those people, and not thinking like trying to satisfy all the other people out there.
Yeah, makes sense.
With big corporations like Nike especially, uh, it's different story. They have the budgets,
Right.
they have the funds, and they have the like the position to try to satisfy everyone. Not everyone, of course, but like those people who are accept susceptible for this kind of like motivation. They are probably people who don't want to run no matter what, or to do some activities. But the good thing is, for everyone, yeah, as you said, everyone has a different imagination what is what their goals are, what their goals are, and they leave it to their imagination. Everyone feels like it's spoken to him because it's like a bit general, but still concrete enough to be connected with Nike.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's pretty genius.
It's really, in fact, it's really ingenious. And one more thing you mentioned before, like that some companies do the mistake of putting themselves in the spotlight and tell everyone like, oh, we are a great company, we can manufacture cars like no one else, or we are like 1,000 years old. I think I've never seen Nike doing anything like this, right? I really have struggled to come up, like, just for remembering ads or whatever, like their advertising channels are, and what campaigns they have. I cannot tell you, like, I couldn't even tell you from what country they are. I don't know how old they are. I only recognize them, like, or remember them for their products and services. And it's a huge brand for clothing and running and everything. But the company itself, it's definitely not in the spotlight.
Yes, no one cares how old Nike is and where it's from. There are very like few exceptions for that. Maybe like local brand where they associated with trust, but it's a very like a small usually advantage. And yeah, especially like I think for most biggest, if you watch like a big budget advertisement like on Super Bowl, that's like the highlight. No, none of those companies are talking about some features. Even like computer, like Apple, have you heard them comparing, like saying, "Oh, our drive hard disk is 1 gigabyte, 1
Never,
terabyte."
never, not even in the 90s.
Yeah. No
Oh,
one cares about those details, and we get lost in those details. It's easy to get lost because, especially like, to if you create this product, you have to take care, like, okay, I need like how fast is it loading, how efficient is it. But that's just underneath it. That's the client is not that interested in
right,
those
right.
facts.
It's so interesting because, to be brutally honest to the audience, I'm not aware of the story brand framework in its details. So right now, having this conversation about it, I'm learning so much because right now my mind is going on like with this Apple example. I'm trying to applying the framework to the messaging and the ads I remember, and there are so many different ads, but none of them is really going into detail what the company Apple is, or like what are the specific the specification details of their products. It's always like they are carrying a feeling, and I remember like this iPod advertisement in the early 2000s where it was about having fun listening to music anywhere, anytime, like your whole collection, because it would all fit on that iPod. So this is, yeah, it makes click. Like you said in the beginning, as soon as you understand the framework, you suddenly see it everywhere. The patterns are emerging, like
Yes.
how ad campaigns are actually structured by successful companies. So this is really fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you also recognize when it's not done
Yeah.
correctly. Like especially in of course like with big corporations, they have whole marketing like agencies and departments. They do it correctly usually. But with smaller companies, there is you recognize immediately like, oh no, what they are talking about, why they are talking about themselves so much, and what they are offering. I don't understand really. Like, I'm not spending 10 minutes to find out what they are offering. There are so much competition in most of the industries, so I just go to someone who where I understand what's the benefit for myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I discovered this framework in 2020 actually,
Hmm.
and I immediately fall in love with that because I really like storytelling. You know, I do improv theater, and there is always like a story
Yeah.
building. So I merged improv theater with marketing, and it's like the closest I can get like with this combination with StoryBrand. And since then I have been like implementing it, and it's a very effective tool to just to stand out among like smaller and middle-sized companies. And yeah, it's amazing.
It's really cool. Yeah, for the initiated who also learned from this podcast what actually the framework is about. Do you have any practical advices? Like, how would you start, or maybe, yeah, what's the first thing coming on your mind if we talk about practical advices on how to implement this framework in your company?
So the first thing is, the most important thing is, you have to understand your target audience. Even if you don't, if like have clients yet and are not sure which direction, how to specialize, like if you have just a startup or start like even not launched, you can make assumptions. You can use this buyer persona where you just have an imaginative perfect client,
Hmm.
and you try just to put yourself into the shoes of this person and understand which kind of lifestyle does it have, this person, which kind of needs, and which kind of like questions this person might have. And then from there on will have a much bigger clarity of especially like the next step is of course problems. If you understand your target audience, you will understand their biggest problems. And you might like, besides of course like thinking and like, if you have experience with talking with some other people, it's all in your brain, so you just can come up already usually with good ideas. But you can also do some research. You can search on those question and answer pages for websites, for example, for people asking questions in your industry. Or you can join the Facebook groups, for example, to see what they are talking about. For example, I did this research for German entrepreneurs, and somehow I found out that they are very worried about taxes and legal things.
Interesting.
So yeah, you will be surprised. And of course later on you will always adjust. You will learn, you will get like requests and sales, and you will learn what like, and especially if you talk and communicate with your clients, you will understand them even better, and you can always adjust. That's a very important learning, that you don't just create it once and let it go, but you always improve and improve with more information you gather.
Yeah, makes sense. Since you start from an assumption on your buying persona, which is like your fantasy, and then over time you're converging to reality, like what you're actually client, and refining like the, like, I would say, general client, or like this, almost like Nike has done it. Maybe they are too broad, because you said in startups it should be like more precise, but you're getting closer to the right person you're addressing, right?
Yeah, you will also have some clients that you like working with and or like selling to, and some clients that you make just a lot of work and effort without like the rewards. So you will like figure out which kind of clients you prefer, and you can like target your communication, your framework, StoryBrand framework, towards those ideal clients. So, and then of course you have to think about how you can establish yourself as an authority. Why is it you, like why should the person, the target audience, trust you? And you can do it like with some references, that you like logos from other companies, some reviews, testimonials, and so on. So yes, I know in the beginning it's a bit difficult as a startup. That's why sometimes it makes even sense to offer some like free service. If you are, for example, an agency, you can offer like to your friends and family, like in near circle, some free service, that like just to get some the ball rolling, or even not to your own circle, like offer to some other clients, potential clients, for free, just to have some reviews, because that's very important. There are so many companies that are promising the world, but if you can back it up with some like proof that you worked with some companies, then it's so much easier to convince those people.
Yeah, makes sense. The classic portfolio building, what an agency or a freelancer, for instance, would do, like asking people if they could help for free a little bit, and also ask them if they could showcase what they've done.
Yes, yes, like you do a free landing page, for example, for them, and then you can showcase it in your on your landing page, that you like, if you are agency for this kind of service. And then you can say, okay, before the landing page they had this and this success, and after the landing page, after the implementation of my landing page, they had like 3 times more customers with the same budget. So that would really like work well. And yes, important is to use it across all your channels, and also like communicate your branding script, and especially one liner, to all of your like stakeholders, employees, freelancers, agencies, and so on, so that everyone is on the same page. And one other advice is, you don't always need to redo everything completely, like, and say, okay, it's not about you either using the framework or you're not using, but you can also implement certain aspects. I understand, like if you are established company, maybe it's not so easy to switch the strategy to StoryBrand completely.
Yeah.
But you could, for example, learn like, okay, let's start with the above the fold, like the first thing you see on the landing page. Let's start there and implement, and just think like, is it clear what we are offering? Is it clear what the benefits are and how the success looks like? So you can start there, and then like, okay, are there enough call to action buttons on the website? and so on, like doing small steps into the right
Oh,
direction.
this is actually an interesting point. I wasn't really thinking about that one. Maybe maybe I'm thinking of something else. But so you can say if your company, let's say it's a bit bigger company, they are not implementing this framework yet. You don't do not need to do it top down, right? You don't need to have like first you need to come up with a strategy, and whoever is in charge of marketing has to do the heavy lifting first. But you can also go bottom up, where you go to like the people making the landing pages, for instance, like, hey, let's try let's try validating our landing page if we are following this framework, and let's see what happens if we do so, if we are not doing it already. So this is really interesting. So this is sometimes not the case with all frameworks out there. So just in general, not about online marketing, but you can like implement on both ends, or like either of them, top down, bottom up. Let's see what happens. And if like bottom up the results are speaking for itself, then you can also go to your like your superior, like, hey, boss, listen, we improved our conversion rate, or we improved our like the average uh, uh, revenue per transaction, or whatever your metric is, your goals are defined by. So you can go and like, hey, we discovered this framework and it works quite well, and we are more and more aligning to it. Maybe we should do it also in different departments. Let's go over to the salespeople and make sure that we are all on the same page. So this is really interesting. Just to highlight it again, this is a framework. You can implement it in your own company, starting your own company. But if you only have a side hustle and your main job is working in one bigger company, you can also maybe implement the framework there yourself and see how it's going. So this is quite interesting.
Yeah, and also, despite me being a big fan of this framework, it's there might be cases where it's not the perfect solution, especially like B2B projects.
Mm-hmm.
Um, People are more focused on the features in B2B, so they are like you. So the framework, the story brand framework works really well, especially like for B2C. Okay, maybe some people don't understand what I mean, what those words mean. So B2B is business to business, and B2C is business to consumers. So with business to consumers, it's usually works pretty well because consumers like are a bit less fact oriented and more emotion oriented.
Yeah.
But of course, still, even if it's a B2B, so really like fact oriented product where the target audience is very rational. By the way, in my opinion, there are no rational, like completely rational people usually. I mean, I cannot say like maybe Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory, maybe he's an exception. Like those kind of people exist maybe also, but let's say in general, people are all like emotional driven. Do they feel trust? Do they feel good when they are like on this website? Of course, with government, for example, and with big corporations, maybe they are like very rational because they have really regulations and they only accept, like they calculate, and whatever is has like the biggest score kind of, then they will take that. But in general, especially for startups, I think, yeah, you can implement either the full framework or just certain things. Just like you can, even for very complicated rational product, you can analyze how, like, do you have enough call to action? Is it clear what to do? Because like even if it's the biggest professional, uh, thinking is like cost energy, and our brain like prefers not to think too much than like making own decisions and thinking like, okay, what should I do, doing research. So you can make the you can improve marketing for most of businesses, and for some businesses more than for others.
Yeah, interesting. So we already talked about frameworks and that you can that you do not have to implement everything at once and top down, but you can use parts of it. Do you have, or did you have did you make any experience, like, or where have you been facing challenges implementing one of the parts? Um, yeah, because we were talking about success on implementing it and everything, but is there also like something you need to watch out for because it's not like perfectly applicable, or it's like a little bit more tricky? What's your experience there?
Yeah, sometimes it's a bit like jumping out of airplane. Maybe that's too extreme, but it's a bit like trying something completely new, and there is like fear from the decision makers. Maybe it's not the right business type for this kind of framework. So that's where I combine like the classical landing page style and structure with some elements of the brand script. So yeah, and it makes it a bit easier. Like there is less like there is always or oftentimes people think like they're an exception. The story brand doesn't work for them. But if you dive deeper, you like especially like if the decision makers start understanding deeper the meaning of it, and the meaning and how the mind works, then the realization comes like, oh, it's actually most cases like may is favorable to use this framework. So there is always the biggest difficulty is the internal challenges
I see. Yeah.
to convince the decision makers to bring everyone on board, and to be like for everyone to be motivated to use this framework.
Yeah, which is also kind of applicable to any change you're bringing to a company. I mean, not just the StoryBrand framework here in particular, but yeah, I think I agree. Like this can be difficult if people are not willing for change for some reason. It might be hard. And again, maybe you can start slowly and see how it's working out for your company, since it's made of several parts you can implement and they are not necessarily dependent on each other.
Usually with other changes, maybe like you have more efficient software or something, it's like doesn't feel like so revolutionary. But with this framework, it's like you are, especially like storytelling framework, so it feels not like very serious and not very on point.
True.
So you have to let go of this fear of this like focus, and you say, okay, we have been doing it for like the last 10 years in the same approach. How we are can we change to a completely like new approach, and so problem and solving, and not very like focused on our features. And of course, I'm not talking about like not in every case you shouldn't like mention the features. That's not the point. You can also like implement, add some details about the product, especially with landing page. You can implement them so that people can click for more information, and then you can learn how many people wanted actually to see those information. That's a big like learning from my side.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, please elaborate. This is really interesting insight.
Yeah, decision makers like bosses, they have something in their mind, and they think that's probably the best solution. And I'm always telling like, how many times was I proved wrong by data?
Oh, yes.
And why not to test your assumption? Why not to create a landing page and then to see how people react? What do they click on to for more details? And then suddenly maybe it's not the right, not what you have thought before that. Like maybe people are not that interested in the first place, like about the how much like terabyte or how many RAM it has and so on. Maybe people are more interested about like security, for example. Is my data safe? Can I like or usability? Is it easy to use? and you can achieve so much like information and insights with analytics and with like publishing your project, launching your project, and just testing. Like it's not difficult like to pay like buy 500 visitors, relevant visitors, to invest like 200 euros or something, and to see how the reality looks like, what they are most interested in, and to adapt the landing page or the marketing accordingly.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, this is really one point we need to emphasize actually on every time we are talking about online marketing. It's to let facts speak for themselves. Start collecting data. Just like come up with a hypothesis and then prove it. Or like see if you were right or wrong. The important thing is that you are test and that you are learning from it, right?
My important advice for our audience is be humble of what you know and be hungry to learn more with real data because so many people, especially like in decision level, in decision making level, they are very convinced about their skills and knowledge, and of course they have a lot of knowledge, maybe like 15 years they have been doing in this industry, they know the industry in and out, but it doesn't mean they know how like psychology works, how marketing works, how other areas that like are included in this. Even like psychology develops further, like even people who are specialists in behavior usability, they learn a lot every like single day. And what should you do, like why should you already know everything as a decision maker just because you have been doing it for very long? No, learn, like is every day is a new day to learn something about your user behavior.
I fully agree. Yeah, that being said, on retrospect and looking forward, what's your take on the future of marketing? Is storytelling the next big thing? And what's your opinion on that?
Yes, the storytelling is already here, so it's, I cannot say it's like future of marketing, but individualization and storytelling, that will be a big thing in the future. So Google is already doing that to a certain degree. If you are using search engine Google, you get different like results for the same keywords than I do.
Mm-hmm.
And someone in Germany complete gets total different results than we get. So that's like the first start. But with future, you can create something individual to each visitor, to each person. Like you can create maybe even like videos that are certain aspects are individualized for you, but also especially like landing page. The landing page can analyze where you came from, and
Interesting.
then
Mm-hmm.
you can scroll with your mouse, and depending where you stay longer, like it can analyze, okay, you are focusing on this in this topic, okay, the next thing I will show you is different than for the other person. So the landing page will be generated in real time.
Ooh, this is interesting. I think, yeah, considering all the generative AIs out there coming up with content on the fly in like real time speed, this might be really interesting. An interesting change we are going to see in the world of landing pages.
Also, I think reading will become less prominent, and talking with the landing page, like you don't even need like you have your voice, you speak with this person, or you have some more video. It will be like multimedia, because like text, not everyone wants to read text, and it will might also go into direction of like gamification, a lot of gamification, and like it will, a landing page might look like a like a video game, not just a static page where that you read and like click on things.
Interesting. Yeah, Let's hope that it's not too much, because I'm afraid that it might be blinking and it might be almost like epilepsy inducing at some point. So
Yeah, but
yeah.
that depends on your target audience. If you have like those hard, like if your target audience are those hardcore gamers who are used to this, like Counter Strike or like StarCraft, everything is happening. They're they're very bored. They're easily bored if your website is like really static and you are like, oh, like small image and big text. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
that's a good
actually
point,
bored
actually.
for everyone, but so for those people it will make sense. But of course, if you are like relaxing, offering a relaxing app for to fall asleep, for example, then it might be you come to a room, there is a 3D room, and it's quiet. There the birds are singing. There is one, like on the table there is some kind of device, you can click on it, you can play with all of those things. So there is, it doesn't need to be like blinking everywhere. It's always depends on the, first on the target audience, and second on the developer, if the developer is taking into consideration the target
True,
audience.
good point. Yeah, kind of like circling back to like individual. I mean, to me it would be overwhelming, but I think for the generation growing up with Minecraft, Fortnite, and Counter Strike all the time might be more appealing, right? So yeah, interesting. So yeah, let's wrap it up. What we learned today and what we discussed, especially I learned a lot. So again, I hope the audience learned also a lot. So what are the top takeaways? What would you say?
If you want to stand out from your competition, I hardly encourage you to take a look at least at the StoryBrand framework and see if it works for you. Ideally, just test a little bit. It doesn't cost you, or it doesn't cost you much money, or you don't risk much if you just work the brand concept and the one liner. If you create that,
Mm-hmm.
it also, even if you are not going to use that, you will have a lot of interesting insights that you can implement even without the story brand framework. But the chances are very high that you can elevate your like success with story brand.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also, like with advertisement, you can always do A/B testing, and you can see a really like um, the statistics. Even if your like boss is against that or decision maker is against that, you can say, okay, let's invest 200 euros and let's test it, and you will see. I don't need like to sell it to you. You like in, no one needs. We can just look at the data. So that's the first or second thing. And yeah, you can also use it partially. So there is, it's better to have like a little bit of story brand concept than not nothing. So, and what would be the steps for you? So I would recommend to visit our website. We prepared a page with all the information that will help you to start with this framework. It's called masterful.info slash storybrand. And there, from there, you have all the information you need to start with this concept, like all the templates and sources of information. And if you need help with consultancy or creating the strategy, you can also reach me at masterful.info.
Cool. That's perfect. There you have it, guys, folks. We talked about the story brand framework today, what to do, what maybe not to do, what to look out for, how to implement it, and how to start. And if you're still having doubts implementing it or you need help, like Will said, masterful.info slash storybrand. And hope to see you next time. Please let us know what you think. If you have any questions, also leave us a review, leave us a comment, send us an email. we are happy to receive your feedback on certain topics. Cool. Thank you so much, Will. That was an interesting journey because I learned a lot today. So yeah, I hope we see you guys and girls next time.